You're in the cut with Slidercuts, taking you through this taper fade tutorial. Many people think that if you've had a haircut recently, it's easy to do, and that's just not the case, and barbers know this, so let me show you how to do this now. If you enjoy this video, then make sure to subscribe.
So I put my skin line in already, and now I'm flattening the area which I'm going to be fading with the 1.5. So I'm going with the grain and flattening the area which I'll be fading. Then I flick it around, and with the open 1.5, I go up to where I want the fade to start. Now, apologies that my comb keeps getting in the way, but then I drop down to the open one, flatten the area I'm going to be fading, then flick it around and go up to where, just beneath where my fade was starting. So gone from through the skin line and go up, close the lever and go up to the exact same place. It's all about little flicks when you're doing a taper fade, because we haven't got long strokes to do, so just little flicks. So look how I'm just lightly flicking through it. Then I drop down again now to the open blade, and look, I'm now lower than I was when I was using the 1.5 and the number 1. Look, I'm just going through the skin line and flicking out. Close the lever a little bit, and now I'm just touching that skin line and flicking out, flicking out, flicking out, flicking out, flicking out. Then I'm going to drop the lever a little bit more, and I'm just touching that line. It's just light flicks, just getting rid of that line. Now, in this part here, I don't want you guys to spend too much time on it. So then I'm going back to the 1.5, and now I'm just saying, okay, cool, let's make this fade a little bit cleaner. Normally I would do this at the end of a haircut, but I'm just showing you guys this right now. Just lightly flicking over what I've already done, right? Just to make it a bit lighter, a bit smoother. Then, if you see how I've gone backwards, I've gone from, you know, it's like a pyramid. How I went from the 1.5 to the 1 to the 0.5, then the 0.5, you know, to the 1 to the 1.5. The point of this is to do the fade, get through it, and then you can start refining it and making it cleaner and making it neater afterwards. But if you just get through the fade without trying to perfect it straight away, you'll see that your fades will start taking less time than they usually do. Now you can see that I'm refining it. This is what I normally do at the end of the haircut. So if we look at the time, I would have spent really about 1.5 minutes, maybe call it 2 minutes doing the fade, and then I'll spend another few minutes refining it. Then I move to the other side. Now it's just like the other side. Put the skin line in where I want the fade to end. Now I'm just going to reduce the area where I want to be fading, flick it around with the 1.5, same thing, go up to where I want the fade to start, and just flick out. It's important your stroke, guys. So go through and flick out. So even though you might not fully see it, but you can actually see me. Look, I'm flicking out. If I was to slow it down, you'll see that I'm really flicking out. So make sure that you've got your technique correct. So go through and flick out. I drop down to the open one, flatten the area I'm going to be fading, turn it around and flick out. If you can see it, look, there's just loads of little flicks, and I'm just being light with my touch. You don't have to be forceful, you don't have to be tough, you don't have to be hard to get the line out. You just have to use correct techniques, as you can see me doing in this video. It's just light touches. And then from here, I will close the lever like I just done with the 1, and then drop down to the open blade, and look, just light touches. But the important thing is to make sure that wherever you started the fade, which is at the top part, every time you drop down a gauge, you come down lower. So with the 1.5, I started off where you can see the bulk. Then with the 1, I came down a little bit lower. Then with the open blade, I was just right on the skin line where the fade is ending. So it's important to create a gradation, which you're starting from one point going down to another point, because a fade is literally just going from one level to another level, but in a smooth way. That's the whole goal. Just go from one level to another, just in a smooth way. So make sure that we start off at one level, and every time we drop down a level, we come down, you know, where we've been fading. All right, let's move on. From here, I'm just doing a bit of refining, which I would normally do right at the end of a haircut, but I'm just showing you guys it right now. But if you see the time I'm spending, you'll see that, okay, so I can just get through the fade quickly and then refine it at the end, and that way your haircuts will end up speeding up and you'll be maintaining the quality, because you're not trying to spend all day trying to perfect one side.
So we move on to the back. Put your skin line in where you want the fade to stop. It's important just to know that wherever that skin line is, that's where the fade stops. I want you to flatten the area where you're going to be fading from. This helps to prepare what you're going to be doing. So with the number 2, I'm just flattening the area. Now I'm going to go up and remove some of that bulk, going through and flicking out, making sure to comb out as I am doing it. So comb it out, remove some of that bulk right there. I've created basically an invisible line where I know I'm not going to go above, so it's handy for me in my head to know that, okay, I'm going to here and flick out. Notice that I'm going to the same place each time, so it's important. Drop down to the open 1.5, go through and flick out. Make sure to create another invisible line which is slightly lower than the last one, and go to there and flick out. Now I've closed the lever, so now it's the close 1.5, and I'm gonna go to the same area and just flick out. Make sure to keep combing it out, because when you don't comb out, the hair does move, so it's good to comb it back into the direction that the hair's grown into. Then you cut, comb, cut, comb, cut. Quick flicks. Make sure that you are flicking out as well, because that is the motion. Drop down to the open 1. Now look, I'm lower than I was in the previous step. I've created another invisible line. I go to that invisible line and flick out. Now you might see that I'm going at different angles. That is because there are some places where the hair is growing in different ways, so I'm going directly opposite the direction that the hair is growing in. Close the lever as I've done, and now I'm doing exactly the same thing, going to the same area, same line, invisible line, and flicking out on that line. Now when I do this enough times, I'm going to drop down now to the open blade. I'm going to go to my next invisible line, which is a lot lower. Remember where I was when I started off with the number 2, and look where I'm at right now. And I'm going to that invisible line and I'm flicking out. You may not notice, but slowly I'm closing the lever as I'm going over it. So I go to the invisible line, flick out, go over it a few times, close the lever a little bit, go down slightly lower, flick out, then go down slightly lower, then I'm just flicking out the skin line. Now on the right side I need to do this area, and don't ask me why right now I'm leaving this area, but I just want to do a bit more refining. And this is what actually happens when you're really cutting hair, guys. Sometimes we show you demonstrations, but when you're really cutting hair, you get obstructed and distracted where you're like, oh, that area could be smoother and that area should be smoother. And then it's like, I'm going to go over there with a number 1. Now I'm going to go back here with the open blade as I am right now. And now I'm going to go through the skin line and flick out. Then I'll close the lever just a little bit like I've done now. And now I'm just flicking out the skin line. So this is just real barbering, because this is what happens in real barbering. So I look up at this area now I've faded it all out, and now I'm like, okay, there's a lot of work that needs to this fade, that's needed in this fade. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like blotchy, or it's heavy, so I'm trying to smoothen it out. So see where there on the right hand side where it's just kind of like it's a bit heavy, I'm just going through it, and this is what is called refining. Now usually guys, I would actually tell you guys, do not do this stage yet. Do this right at the end. Right now, just get it to a decent state, shape it up, move on, then come back at the end. But this is what refining is. The reason why I don't like people doing it straight away is because you can get hot and flustered and overdo one area, then you get frustrated when you have to move on. But in this stage right now, I'm doing a bit of refining because I want the fade to look a bit smoother before I move on. And it's literally just looking at different areas. That area is too heavy, that area looks a bit blotchy, that area looks a bit heavy. So I'm just smoothing it out to make the fade look a little bit cleaner. Even though I preach, you should always do this at the end. I'm doing it a little bit now. So now I'm going to smooth over the hair because he doesn't really want a lot of taking off his hair. So I'm using the open blade just to freehand it to create the shape which I think is best for his hair and which he wants. If I use the gauge, it will just bring it down and it would not give it the desired rounded off shape. So it's important to learn how to freehand, how to carve someone's hair, because this is barbering. I know a lot of new barbers don't do it, but trust me, do it and just learn. It's just about practice. See the front, the lip that's hanging over? I've combed it out now, and now I'm just gonna cut the lip because we don't want all of that hanging over, especially when I'm shaping it up. We don't want the tinting. For those which are outside of England, you know what tinting is? Tinting's like, you know, when your hair kind of like hangs over like a cliff. We don't want that. So, you know, so I'm smoothing over the front and making sure to get rid of the tinting or the cliff. Let's move on to the beard. Take down the beard to the level which he wants. Well, I'm taking down the beard to the level that he wants, which is a number 1, but the middle of his beard is a lot more dense than the side of his beard. So you'll notice on the side, I'm going down with the number 1, but in the middle, I was going up against it. So it looks the same level, even though technically it's not the same level, it looks the same level. And this is what barbering is about. To the shape up, start with the corner of your trimmer, using it like a pencil to create the curve, the arc, the C cup, whatever you call it. Then on the sideline, go from 1 point straight up in a straight line, pressing down and pulling away from the hairline little touches. Then just going over the curve again. Now from the middle, we're going to start in the middle, comb out the hairline, and then press down, pull away from the hairline, and go across in a straight line to meet the side line. Do this a number of times. Ooh, we've gone blurry. Apologies, guys. Ooh, let's get that back. Apologies for that. Sometimes it's blurry, especially when you've got no one filming you. I'm self-filming. So sorry about that. Go over the line just as you had done before and make it cleaner. Make sure to comb it out, guys. Comb it out and go over the line. The more you do it, the cleaner the shape up will be, the longer the shape up will last, and the more prominent it will be as well. So a front view, guys, of what I'm doing, just so you can see it from this angle. I'm pressing down, pulling away from the hairline. I'm being very light with my touches because we don't want to cut the client, and these tools are very sharp, especially when you got them zero gapped. So be gentle with them and let the tools do the work. On this side, I do exactly the same thing, using the corner of the trimmer like a pencil to create that arc, curve, C-cup, whatever you call it. Then on the sideline, which you can't see because my arm is blocking it, go up in a straight line. Then from the middle, go across in a straight line, doing little touches just to create a smooth, clean line. Comb it out and go over it again. Combing it out is important, don't just leave it. On his neck, I'm using my finger to pull down and stretch his skin so it's easier to shave, so it's more of a comfortable shave. If you don't do that, then his skin will be ripply and jaggedy and you'll be jabbing him and it will hurt, but you can see in his face there's no pain at all, and that's because I stretched out his skin. That's a little technique that you should all use. We've gone blurry again, apologies. When I do the moustache, I push down on the moustache. I normally always say press down and pull away, but I push down. That's just the technique I use. Shaping up the neck. Start in one place and go up in a straight line, in a diagonal line, but in a straight line to create a clean line. Comb it out. Press down, pull away from the hairline to create a clean, neat line. How clean this line is will bring out your fade. Believe me. You want to have a good fade, and I think the fade is looking decent as it is right now, but the shape up will make it stand out and comb it out quite a few times and go over the line that you have done. Make sure also to do behind the ears. People often leave this part here. I just feel like it makes the shape up look a little bit unfinished, and I can always tell, especially when someone cuts their own hair, because I always see that the behind the ears are undone. So make sure you do behind the ears, because I think it just completes it. It's just those little things that people leave that is like, come on, finish the haircut. So how do you think the neck taper is looking? I'm happy with it right now. You guys like it? After I've wet the hair, I curl king it, meaning I just use the curl king sponge and twist all of the client's hair. Do this all around in the same direction, going in a circular motion, little twists all around. Then I go over the fade again and the shape up, because once you curl king someone's hair, it's important to make sure to go over it to make it look smoother and cleaner. Many people don't do this. I often see people just leave it, and it's like, no, now you've styled it, make sure you cut it so it looks good in that style. So that's why you should always twist their hair for them and not wait for them to go home, so you can see how it looks. I snip the edges with my scissors because it's a bit straggly and it's a bit kind of like, what would I call it? Spiky. That's what it is, like hairs are kind of spiky and sticking out. This will make it look more full and put together. So this is the reason why I do this. And there we have the haircut. What do you think? Have you enjoyed this tutorial? Has it been helpful? If so, then make sure you subscribe, like the video, leave the comments. And if you got this far, please definitely leave a comment to let me know how you felt about this video, if you like it, what videos you'd like to see, because you've been in the cut with Slidercuts. Please follow and press the bell notification, because I put out videos all the time on barbering and business. He's happy, I'm happy, we're happy.